Hi, I'm Dave Purdy, founding partner of Wealth Management Midwest, and attached to this short video is our May market commentary. And say, I just wanted to kick off today's commentary, add a little bit of perspective. And it's interesting, I got a phone call from my older brother in California recently, and he was commenting, he said, gosh, I got to ask you, Dave, I mean, the market's hitting all-time highs, and we've got these wars going on, we've got tornadoes, we've got floods, we've got the political divide, we've got the shootings going on, we've got Savannah Guthrie's mother, nobody's found her. How in the world can the stock market be hitting new highs when you've got all this turmoil? And I was explaining to him, and I think we've got to be mindful of this, but in any industry, and I always do this, I always ask somebody who's in a different industry, I always say, what's the biggest misconception of your business? And they tell me, and it's crazy. And I would say the biggest misconception of our business, or my business here with money management, is the misconception that what's happening on the headlines is going to really affect long-term the stock market. Now, the headlines do affect during the day, like when Trump announced all the tariffs, the market goes down like this, then comes back. But really, the market only cares about earnings. And it's the earnings, that's kind of like, that's the big thing. And so if you put all the noise aside, and then if you're mindful of, okay, how's the economy really going? And just a couple interesting things, but ADP recently came out and they said that 109,000 new jobs were created back in April. That's a 15-month record, a 15-month record. Interesting, huh? And then Walmart recently came out and said that their projected revenue growth over the next 5 years is 25%. Growing revenue by 25% in the next 5 years. Now, what's interesting, if you take Walmart, that's the largest corporation in the world. And Walmart does this much business, Apple does this much business. So if you're talking about Walmart growing revenues by 25% the next 5 years, that's a big number. What's even more interesting is the CEO of Walmart said, we're going to do it without adding one person. Our head count is going to stay the same. That's because if you look at AI and everything that they're doing. So they're going to grow revenues 25%, not add anybody. Then you switch gears a little bit. Recently, the Disney companies came out with earnings, phenomenal earnings. And I've had a lot of friends that have gone down to Orlando or Anaheim and the Disney. And whenever I talk to them when they come back, I said, well, how was it? And the first thing they say was, my gosh, it's the most expensive thing you could ever possibly imagine, but it's busy. And so they came out just recently with earnings. They're great. Uber came out with earnings. They were better than expected. So I think, and then you even throw on top of that, you throw on, if you look at airline travel, over the last year, airline travel is up 18%. So airline travel is up 18%, and we know traveling is expensive. I mean, you go to the parking, you go to the airport, you go to the hotels. I mean, that's up 18%. So that's over here. Now, do we have any headwinds? Absolutely, we have headwinds. And some of the biggest headwinds, I think, are for younger people. And as a matter of fact, a statistic came out recently where they went from people in their early 20s to maybe 34, 35. More of those, I call them kids, are living with their parents now. If it's not an all-time record, it's a really high record, and like since the 1940s. And of course, the reason why is houses are so expensive, gasoline's so expensive, and new jobs for younger people, it's really tough. And so I feel for that age group. And also, I just noticed they had a big report. They were talking about how all these concerts going on and how a lot of the concerts, a lot of these big concert acts are either reducing their shows because of lack of ticket sales or canceling. I noticed that Post Malone they're eliminating a third of the arena or stadium dates because they just don't have the ticket sales. They don't always say that, but interesting. But I think bottom line for me for here is be mindful of companies are doing pretty well. The other thing is we still have fairly low unemployment. We're not seeing a rash of huge layoffs. Some of these tech companies are laying people off, but for the most part, doing pretty good. And then the other thing on top of that is, as long as the economy is rolling along, I think we've got a lot to look forward to because these wars eventually are going to end. I mean, at some point, which will be a boon. But the biggest thing for the stock market, and if you're an investor like we all are, time and patience. Those are the two superpowers. And if you look at these markets from years ago, they go just like this. It's like a guy walking up the stairs with a yo-yo, but they're at all-time highs now. So we keep exercising time and patience, and that's how to do it. If you have any questions, please give myself or Chad a call, and we'll look forward to being in touch.